To install the toolbox, go to gradientspace.com/UE Toolbox, scroll to the Download section, and click the link for the version of Unreal Engine that you have installed. Now copy the zip file you just downloaded to your project's plugins directory and unzip it. Make sure the folder is named Gradientspace UE Toolbox. Now open your project and switch to modeling mode, and you'll find a Gradientspace tab at the bottom. If these instructions were too quick, back to the UE Toolbox website, scroll all the way down, and click the link for the installation help page. Using the Mesh Import tool, OBJ meshes can be imported directly into dynamic mesh components in the level. Units, up direction, and pivot location can be tweaked with a live preview. Polygons in the source file can be imported as polygroups on the Unreal Mesh. Imported polygons can make mesh selection and editing much more efficient, and the polygonal shape polygroups can be subdivided just like in the source DCC. The Export Meshes tool can be used to export all selected meshes directly from the level, as well as optionally exporting mesh polygroups as polygons. In this example, I've used the quad detector in modeling mode to generate polygroups for this model. After exporting to an OBJ file, these polygroups will come in as polygons when importing into Blender. The Quick Move tool can be used to translate and rotate objects in the level without requiring selection or gizmos. Hotkeys are used to switch between different transformation modes like vertical, XY plane, screen space, and drag on scene or landscape. Objects can be rotated around their pivot, center, or base point. Shortcuts are available for quick fixes like setting an object upright, and collisions can optionally be detected with selected meshes in the viewport. The Export Meshes tool can also export multiple selected actors, either appended into a single mesh or as separate meshes in world position. This allows entire scenes to easily be imported into external DCCs as a reference for world building. Model grids are a new type of 3D object we're introducing to Unreal Engine. A model grid is based on a uniform grid, but it's not just voxels. Grid cells can contain other shapes like slabs, ramps, corners, cut corners, pyramids, peaks, and cylinders, with many more to come. Each shape is parametric, so dimensions, position, and orientation within each cell can be modified. Model grids can be created from scratch using the Model Grid editor, which can place individual blocks but also has tools for filling regions, 2D and 3D brushes, selection, and copy-pasting. Custom in-viewport gizmos allow the corners, edges, or faces of solid blocks to be directly manipulated. In paint mode, entire cells can be painted in RGB color or assigned an Unreal material, and cell faces can also be painted individually. Model grids can also be imported in various ways. In this example, I've imported a scene from Magica Voxel, a popular voxel modeling tool, and then added some details using the Model Grid editor. Images can also be imported as model grids. Each image pixel will become a block in the grid with various controls for orientation and color processing. The grid cells do not have to be uniform. Here I've stretched the cells along the x-axis using the Reshape tool, and then resampled the stretched grid into a new uniform grid. Next, the grid is cropped, and then the cells are edited to give this 2D bomb some 3D depth. Existing 3D meshes can also be rasterized into model grids. Here I've rasterized our subdivided cow into a relatively coarse grid. The head is only 4 cells wide, which is not enough to create separate eyes by painting cells. However, we can use partially filled slab cells to leave a gap and add other details. Finally, a bit of quick painting can be used to add some spots. Vertex colors on the source mesh can also be transferred to the rasterized model grid object. These colors will propagate to the interior volume, which will be visible if the interior of the grid is exposed. Model grid objects can also be converted to static or dynamic meshes with hidden face removal. Cell faces can be converted to polygroups, which can be used in mesh editing and also allows model grids to be used to create a base mesh topology for smooth subdivision. Alternately, the cell faces can be simplified into larger polygonal areas to reduce triangle counts. These larger faces will be segmented as polygroups, which can be exported using the Mesh Export tool and also used for more structured mesh editing. Model grids can be stored as assets in the editor. Here I've created 2 model grid actors that reference the same asset. Editing via that actor updates the asset so both actors are affected. Next, I'll create a third copy and then use the Grid Utility tool to convert this actor to a standalone model grid, which is saved in the level. Now edits don't affect the asset. I can drag and drop the asset and then remove it to toggle between the local and asset grids. The UE Toolbox also has a few editor quality of life features which can be configured from the project settings for the plugin. A startup editor mode can be configured, and mode buttons can be added back to the main toolbar. These buttons will save you a click when switching between frequently used modes. There's also a feedback tool in the Gradientspace tab, which can be used to quickly open the Gradientspace website, Discord, and YouTube channels and check for updates. The plugin will also automatically notify you about updates if you're online. Thanks for watching. Again, you can get the plugin at gradientspace.com/UE Toolbox. It's currently free for launcher binary builds of UE 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5.